Welcome to Confessions of an SEO. This is Carolyn Holzman. I'm going to share my own experiences in SEO as an SEO spanning the past 13 years and counting. Also, as an SEO tester, I'm going to share some of the things I'm testing and some of the research data. Now, the views expressed here are my own and do not necessarily reflect Google's, which is a good thing because I don't think they're driven to have your or my business's best interest in heart. So primarily, I do not regurgitate Google announcements. I watch their feet. So if you're an independent or agency SEO, I get you. And if you're a business owner or a stakeholder who doesn't really understand SEO, before I was turned into an SEO, I was a local business owner for decades, always trying to get more customers. So let's get started. Well, I'm back, and welcome to a special edition of Confessions of an SEO. So why is it special? In case you weren't marking your calendars, today, Saturday, August 27th, 2022, this is the 1-year mark of the research project that I started last year on this day to test the Google indexing system. Now, I just moved the show over one day so I could be at my best when it comes to celebrating this. I've even brought cake and extra points to those who get the reference that's going to come from one of my favorite movies, A Few Good Men. All right, so other than 365 days of testing the process of getting new content into being served by Google by its keywords, what is the big deal? Well, as I see it, now we have a body of work that confirms, based on the data that was generated through the project, that sometimes, something was indeed wrong in the state of Google when it came to indexing new content so that it could be found by its keywords. And this was the majority of last year. And frankly, it is seemingly still that case. And I'll come back to that. So if you ever want to know what's going on in the weather tools, also, this data can be a research because SEMrush only shows you the past 30 days. But what if you're doing a forensic audit and you want to know what was happening on that particular day? So if you're writing on this topic or you have a manager or a boss that wants to hold you responsible for things that are out of your control, this whole project was started for you and me. But if you're an agency SEO or an independent SEO or the affiliate SEO that just wants to drop off the edge of the internet sometimes, or the e-commerce site that you work all year for the chance of making it big on Black Friday just in time for Google to turn the knobs in November and push you into paid ads, this is kind of for you. This whole data set. Now, what else? Well, we've learned how to get new content served. Notice how I use that different word. And specifically, how not to request it to be indexed. So if you just search for Google indexing issues research, it'll be the top result. And that page includes a video. Or if you like, you can check out the SEO Fight Club episode. That's Ted Kubitis, Lee Witcher, and Clint Butler. They're on YouTube every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now, it was, I want to think it was episode, 146. Yes. So they brought me on and it's like a live peer review of all this data. So if you want to see that, you can check that out on YouTube. But it was all of the data that was presented from when it started until mid-February, where the revised protocol was presented in that episode. Now, another thing we've learned, that indexed and served are two different systems within the overall indexation process at Google. Now just look at one of your Search Console reports for pages that are excluded, and they'll use the words, those pages are not indexed or not served in Google. We also learned that our Search Console coverage reports are all updated at the same time. same day, same time. It used to be called the coverage report on that left panel. They would use the word coverage, but it is now changed to the word pages. I guess be more descriptive, right, for the rest of us that are not programmers. What else did we learn? We learned that while we know that Google updates their rendering bots based on Chrome builds, Google will actually crawl different Chrome builds simultaneously. I mean, it's possible that's what they consider one of their thousands of tests per year. We also learned that over the spring, new bots, both mobile and Chrome, were released on average every 5.5 days. We've also learned that mobile indexing is first. That is, for any new Chrome build, it comes in a mobile version first. And then it's tested by itself for a while, and then a desktop version of the same build pops up. We learned that they start with US-based hosted sites in this process, and then shortly, once I guess things get rolling, there's some signal where they then push it out onto like EU logs. So we've learned that when new bots present themselves, there's often quite a lot of rollback on existing content. Not enough to cause general panic, but just enough to propagate sort of staggered anecdotal type horror stories. Now, we've learned also that what some SEO watchers call, I'm using air bunnies, unannounced updates, because they saw a weather tool kind of reading going higher all of a sudden, but no announcement from Google they're doing an update. It just so happens we also see an introduction of a new bot with a fresh Chrome build, more often than not. Now, all of these are basically alternative explanations with data to support the following. One, Google can't really determine content quality like a human can. My test pages are made up of random alpha, random English, some regular content. And once I perfected the system of how to ask for indexation and specifically where not to ask, the results were repeatable and predictable. Two, the quality of your content is not a criteria for crawling your content. It matters how you ask Google and where. This is how you ask. It basically is like where it inserts that crawl request in their indexation system. Now, I'll say more about that in a minute. And three, the authority of your domain is not a criteria for crawling your content. So if you're at an agency or you're an enterprise agency, you probably have tons of pages that say discovered not crawled, or crawled not indexed, or index not served. It's not your SEO team. It's how they've been taught to ask because they're asking the way Google told them to do it. And it has changed. And it's not their fault for following Google's instructions. And that's why this project was started. No one paid me for this. No one said, here's some prize money if you can figure this out. It was and still is for the SEO community. And I wanted it to be an agnostic, reliable voice about indexation and what's going on. So now what? I guess I wanted to touch on where things go from here. To be honest, I was a little ambivalent about, once I guess cracking the code to indexation occurred. And now that it's possible for all of us to get our content into the engine of Google, I just started wondering, well, what is the value of doing this and keeping doing this? And some SEO testing friends, they posited that there is a value in running the same test over and over time. Interesting. So one of the toughest realities in SEO testing is always what is, coming up with that next test where we might uncover, let's say, the next SEO discovery. There's one that involved steganography that I really don't want to say any more about that, but that was pretty sweet sweet one for me, even though it was short-lived. But still, no matter how many new tests there are, I'm beginning to see that there's value in knowing when things change. Are things the same or are they different? For instance, indexation. Right now, we have a way into the indexation system through the Google Indexing API. But what if that changes? How would we know without testing it? Who's going to do that? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? Well, yeah, I suppose it's going to be me. Now, there is a current index test I have running. I'll tell you a little bit about it because I can't resist. 2 test pages, one submitted with the Indexing API and the other via the sitemap. Not a request for indexation. I'm clicking that button, but doing what John Mueller has said, just update your sitemap and we'll find it. Both pages were launched on August 15th. The API test page, the bot arrived pretty much at the request sent through the Indexing API. It indexed on the 16th and was served by both its keywords on the 19th. Not bad. The sitemap submitted one still shows as pages not indexed, discovered, currently not indexed. And it's definitely not served by either of its keywords. So I guess we can see that it's still a problem, just like it was last year. And now we can tease out maybe a little bit more, a more precise way to describe, rather than just say, Google hates my content. What if it's possible, and I'm just spitballing here, the 3 systems that they say make up the indexation process. They call them crawling system, the indexing system, and the serving system. So what if between the indexing and the serving system, communications are good? But what if between the crawling and the indexation or indexing system, what if, like what's happening here, this is where our content is forced to take a number and weight. So it got me thinking. Somebody mentioned caffeine the other day. Now, caffeine was Google's attempt to deal with the scale of indexing back in 2017 and still keep the index up to date with fresh content. The sheer number of sites and the explosion of content pushed out by all of us made it to where Google was very honest about the old way of crawling and indexing just couldn't keep up. So what if caffeine has hit a glass ceiling and it's no longer able to scale on its own? That maybe somebody's got to go in and sort of take a wrench and hit on it, and then it'll work for a little bit. You see, that's a lot different than your content not being good enough or your site not being authoritative enough. So if there is a glitch in the crawling pipeline, where it either never makes it to the indexation system to get parsed into the format where Google can run it through JavaScript rendering and then keyword assignment process and then sort it against existing content that they have to ultimately maybe make it, to the big show, then maybe that too could explain what we're seeing. Now, this time we have a way of describing what we're seeing in a way that without a doubt makes it sound like it's a machine with processing issues and not an SEO person. Now, I don't know about you, but being able to see something that I've seen since starting SEO in 2009 get progressively more slow, more broken, and not make it about my SEO skills, that is proving priceless. So I hope this helps you too. So happy birthday, Indexation Research Project, the gift that keeps on giving. It seems like you still have a future. Well, that's going to do it for today. Now, next week, I'll probably talk a little bit about this ongoing helpful content update. In the meantime, you can check out Crawl or No Crawl. Those are short YouTube reports every day where I show you what's going on in the logs to perhaps explain what we're seeing in weather tools or not seeing in weather tools. Now, thank you again to the sponsors of Confessions. They help support this work for themselves and others. And if you'd like to support this podcast, there'll be a link in the description. If you're looking to be a more substantial sponsor than those levels, reach out to me, confessions@American Way Media. Please subscribe. It's one of the factors in how they rate podcasts. But if you haven't settled on one source, you can simply Google Confessions of an SEO. You can't miss it. It's now an entity. I wish I could do reverb. Anyway, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the service.